Hello, hello, and welcome to Creating in Fortnite. We are here this week. We've got the wonderful Zoe, of course, as well, and a bunch of other amazing guests to talk all about Patchwork. Tell us, Zoe, how's Patchwork going? How's launch? How are we feeling about it? We're so excited to have y'all here.
I am so excited about this. I've been waiting for this stream for quite some time. I feel like if you've been joining us for the last few weeks or a few months, you've heard me alluding to it that, oh, I'm really excited for some music stream coming up. I'm really excited to talk about some music things coming, and they're finally out in the wild. So thank goodness that I'm not going to accidentally leak it anymore, because the amount of times I almost said Patchwork was becoming a problem. But now they're live, they're out, you've seen them, y'all have been playing with them. I'm super excited to talk about how that's been going, talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing to help support you in understanding these devices. But how am I feeling? Just happy that it's live and that I can openly and freely speak with our community. I've really been looking forward to this. I'm really excited for y'all to connect with our guests on stream today. We've got a lot of great stuff for you today, per usual, but I have to say, this stream is right in my heartstrings. I'm so excited to just finally be able to speak with the community about this.
That's right. And Zoe actually was a huge part of making Patchwork happen. So thank you, Zoe, and the team. We've got a lot of the team here that will be showing off some awesome things about Patchwork. They're there to take your questions. We're going to jam a bit. We're going to go and deep dive into some best practices, tips and tricks, things like that, all about Patchwork. But before we get into that, we've got a couple of our announcements as usual. We're going to go over our Epics picks for the coming week, as well as all the news that's happened in the past. I guess it's only been about 2 weeks, 2.5, something like that. We actually pushed the stream a little early. Yeah, we pushed the stream a little early because we wanted to make sure and get out in front of you with all the cool things happening with Patchwork, and also answering your questions as soon as we could. So this is a little special earlier stream than usual. But with that all being said, hello everyone that's here. Welcome. I'm seeing a lot of great names in chat. We're so excited to have you, and we're going to dive into Epic's picks for the week. So Dan the Van Man, if you could throw me over. We have
The audio is a little janky for me. I don't know, Dan, if that's something that happened with the Switch, if you can hear me, but I can't hear Shane very well right now. And I'm seeing an RIP sound on Twitch. Oh, yeah, there you go. You sound great now. Thank you.
Did we get it? Is it revived?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Good. Sweet. Awesome. Okay, cool. And let me just double check that we have that. Okay, cool. So yeah, one of our next upcoming Epics picks is going to be Tokyo Dome Wars. Go and check it out. The Tokyo Dome in Fortnite. Team up with your friends and your favorite weapons on a unique Fortnite map to aim for the win. Congrats, Mondrian. And we've got 50v50 Battlefield by Hidden Leaf Games. As you can see, definitely a lot going on. Super chaotic, lots of fun. Tons going on here to check it out. Congrats again, Hidden Leaf Games. 50v50 Battlefield in Epic's Picks next week. Then we've got Hunted Gun Game by Pixel and Polly. I know I've seen this one on Twitter. Congrats, y'all. You get to jump into a spooky gun game and watch out for those flying ghosts, which is super cool. Lava. I didn't mention lava. All right. The charisma of this description is giving.
I'm really into the description. It's fantastic.
Congrats, Pixel and Polly. I'm excited to jump into that one for sure. You know me and my spooky love. And then we got Monster Tycoon RPG by Shock Maps. I'm loving this Epic Jonesy thumbnail with the glowing eyes. And you get to adopt pets, so what's not to love? Congrats, Shock Map. And then we've got Mining Simulator 2. Near and dear to our hearts is a simulator by Treggy. Congrats, Treggy. I see you all the time. It's cool to see you up here. But you get to explore the world of Mining Simulator 2, mine stones and sell them. Let's make that money. That Mindstone money. And then we've got 100 plus parkour boxes by Charlie Brown. 1 to 20 players, parkour over 100 different and unique boxes. Look at this, the detail that went into all those individual things. Love how you laid it out like that in your thumbnail. Congrats, Charlie Brown. We got Time Heist, Time Travel by Click Creates. Ooh, I'm loving the cut in half kind of in the different vibes on each side. Very cool. Experience time travel in Fortnite. Navigate the future and past to locate the artifact and save the world. Congrats, Click Creates, on your epic picks. And then, oh man, it's good to see this one up here.
Cool,
this one was the first Tycoon I ever played on Fortnite, and it's very cute. It's very cool, and a lot of love went into it, I know. So congrats, Mara Blind, for the Fortnite Coaster Tycoon on Epic's Picks. Definitely check this one out if you enjoy theme parks or just cozy little games. I absolutely had a blast. So congratulations. And with that, we've also got a few shout outs for people who have been newly featured for the first time within our community. So definitely share some love to these people. We've got Scarlet Shade. Congrats. We've got SPT083, Proxy. We've got, I'm going to try and pronounce this right, in now or Inu, EINOOW. We've got Litton with a question mark and exclamation point, which I love. Lowy.
I love that you included that in your praising. Yeah, exactly. Great job.
What is it that they say? No, actually, for fear of accidentally cursing in Japanese, I'm not going to say it like Litton. Nani? We've got Lowy. We've got iLemon. Congrats. Taiki. Congrats. Ponbon871. Congrats. We've got Hash Taki. We've got Marklar, Alone, and Nobanashi. So congrats to all of you for your first time featuring here in the community. We're super excited to see new people popping up and discovering UFN and creative. So welcome. And congrats on your accomplishment there. All right. So with that, we've got all the community stuff aside. I see some wonderful people in here. Hi, Opsman. What's up? Oracle Chick. Directing Pete, you're here. Mac Jack, you're here. So many people. We're so happy to see you. We're excited to get into it. So with that, I'm going to throw to Zoe so she can knock out some of our awesome updates in the Fortnite creative and UFN ecosystem for the corporate phrase. Sorry.
Well, let's do it now. Let's talk about it. It happens to the best of us, let me tell you. I have some great updates today, though, but as I mentioned, I've been exceptionally excited for this stream, so I'm going to keep this pretty high level. I know it's actually really lovely. I keep seeing a bunch of familiar names here in chat, and so it's lovely to see the same folks coming back, and it's even cooler to see new folks who maybe this is your first time tuning in. Welcome. We're happy to have you. But considering a lot of the folks who are in chat with us right now are familiar with some of these updates, I'm going to keep this pretty quick because, like I said, we have so much good content today. We've got some of the devs joining us from Patchwork, and so I want to give us enough time to get into that. So let me go through some of our updates. I think you'll be aware of a lot of them. Obviously, we had 27.0 come out, and a big update with this one. Obviously, Patchwork, I'd like to think of as a star of this. It was a huge moment for Fortnite generally. I'm sure as you've all seen the things happening both within and outside of creative and UEFN, it's just been a busy, super exciting time for the team. But with that has come a ton of upgrades and new features for creative. Obviously, Patchwork, one of them. We'll get to that at the end. We're going to do a super deep dive with our dev team of both the exemplar islands that are out there and the documentation and some really exciting news that was mentioned in the blog that a template is coming soon. You're actually going to get a first look at that today, but there is a super robust set of information available to you to better understand the tool set. We'll do a deeper dive into that in a little bit. But with 27.0 update, a few other things came. Audio mixer device updates. We've got prefabs and galleries, so you can now enjoy some FNCS trophies, as well as some additional spooky content. And then just some general other creator portal updates. We've been talking about the IARC for quite some time now. As you know, that went into effect on the 14th, which was yesterday, that if you hadn't updated it, it would not be available in Discover. So, just make sure you're keeping an eye on all the patch notes, all the different forums that we use to communicate with you. We're trying our best to get you the relevant information as soon as possible to make sure that you're well equipped for how to update and react to sort of what's going on. So that, of course, is one thing, our 27.0 update. But in addition, we've also got some new game tags. So you can get real specific with exactly what your experience is, what it has to offer to players. So don't forget to check that out on the EDC. That forums under games and game tags. Not only do we have the full list of them that are available, we go over in detail what each of them means so you can make sure that you're tagging your experiences appropriately. And Shane with the screen share, always killing it. Love you for it. Thank you so much for holding it down and having all this up on screen with me while we go through it. Moving right along, something big that actually needs a moment because I know all of you have been really excited about it, asking for it. Discover section, your questions answered. As you know, last month on October 3rd, we started Unreal Fest, and there we had a couple folks from our Discover team come, had an open Q&A about the future of Discover, and it was a really, really in-depth, insightful, and interesting conversation between creators and the team that actually runs that functionality. We've published the session, a version of it available now on the Creator Portal blog. Shane has it up on screen in front of me right now. We know that Discover is something y'all have a lot of thoughts, feelings, questions about, and we're trying, like I said, to do our absolute best to be as transparent as we can be, to deliver you the relevant information as you need and deserve it. And this blog is one of those things doing that. So if you have yet to check out what was talked about at Unreal Fest, and the different ways that we consider and work on Discover, please check out this blog. Super, super extensive, a lot of good information in there. And I hope that can offer some clarity and help you understand sort of what direction things are headed. Really, it was a really great session. And I'm glad that whether you were at Unreal Fest or not, everybody has access to this information now. So please check this out. If you've not done so already, go ahead and see the latest and greatest there. All right, let me just make sure. Actually, Annie, thank you so much for reminding me. The IARC date actually changed to the 16th. I apologize. That was not yesterday. That moved to the 16th. Thank you so much for that call out. So if you've yet to fill out your rating survey, please go do so. You're definitely going to make sure that you do this. There's been a lot of conversation around this and some helpful resources that are made available on our official channel. So if you have yet to fill out the rating survey for your island, please do so today. Please do it today. Deadline's moved to the 16th, but why not do it on the 15th? So please check that out. Don't forget to do that. Super, super important on that. Annie, thank you. Shout out to you for holding this down there. Okay, and then also wanted to mention, use the Creative and UEFN bug reporting form. So there's now a way to report bugs within FNC and UEFN directly in the forums, and you can do it through the issues and bug reporting forum. You can go in there and actually just report issues directly. This is a really efficient way for you to let us know what you're sort of struggling with, what might be going on. Shane, of course, has it up right here so you can see what it looks like. You're gonna go, she did it Shane, you're the best. You're the best. Did exactly like you're reading my brain for me. You're gonna hover over new topic, create a new issue. If you want to go ahead and click on that so folks can see exactly what happens, you can put all the relevant information here, and it's a really nice streamlined way for us to understand, the most pressing issues, what's going on, and help us understand how to prioritize. So if you are not using this is an awesome resource for you. Please make sure that you are reporting the bugs so that we're aware. And if you need more information on how to do so, there is another blog on the Creator Portal available to you to help you better understand that process. But really exciting that that's finally live. Happy to share it with y'all. And then just a few other housekeeping things that I wanted to get into. One, of course, I mentioned this on every stream, but please, please, please do not forget to continuously check the Fortnite Island creator rules. We'll, of course, let you know when updates have been made. There was an update as recently as November 10th. So please pop into the Fortnite Creator Island rules and make sure that whatever you're working on abides by those guidelines and rules. We put the most recent updates up top so you can see exactly what's changed. But these are great, again, a great resource for you to understand sort of the scope of what's acceptable within your experiences and islands. And as they evolve, we'll make sure that we're letting you know the changes that are coming, which you can see, like Shane has right here, notated at the top of this blog post. So go ahead, check it out, make sure that you're up to date with what's the latest and greatest there. And again, that's available for you online and updated on an ongoing basis as changes are made. So great resource there. And then final thing I wanted to mention that was really exciting. We had an awesome fireside chat with the one, the only, the legendary Mustard Plays. It was sort of a special Halloween episode as well. So check it out if nothing else for the fun costumes. But there's also some really great information there. All y'all in the community definitely know Mustard Plays, if not by content and by presence, by reputation, because this is somebody that has definitely, they understand how to build community and offered some really helpful insights that could be useful for any of our creators who are on that same journey. So if you missed it, go ahead and check it out. Really useful information, really fun stream. So be sure to take a look and get the info from that. All right, well, that is most of my marketing updates. The one other thing I want to talk about was Patchwork devices. Like I mentioned at the top, there is so much available with Patchwork. We wanted to make sure that we gave you as many resources as possible to understand the tool set. I did see a comment in chat, I think at the top, that was saying, hey, Patchwork is not so easy. Well, it is a robust tool set. There are 14 different devices that came out on November 3rd. we we understand that not only is it a new device type, of course it's 14 devices, which is a super heavy update, and we typically don't drop that many devices at one time, especially ones that are this unique. So what we've done is a few things to try to make it as easy as possible for you to pick these things up and start creating with them. Not only are they fun, they are so useful, and we're going to talk about all those various uses a little bit later in stream. But for getting started, not only do we have really robust documentation from our awesome docs and learning team here at Epic, shout out to them, they were awesome with pulling 17 docs together to go over these tools, so no small feat. But we also have a couple islands. We have the music gallery, which is a hands-on walkthrough of the tools, and we also have Club Patchwork, which is a space for you to go in and jam, make music, have some fun with friends within Fortnite, for you to just get a feel for what generative and creative music might look like. Yes, you can see it. It's beautiful. It's just fun to hang out with too, and a really great way to explore in a sort of social space. But outside of that, we also have a template that is not available right now, but coming soon with the next update. And we're going to show you that in just a little bit with a little bit of a deep dive with one of its creators. So like I said, I'm going to leave it there because we have so much good information as it relates to Patchwork on this stream. I don't need to do much of a deeper dive, but that is sort of the latest and greatest on marketing. I'm checking in chat to make sure there's no questions. Not seeing anything right now, but we will be around, and y'all know how to get in touch with us. Shane's available, of course, as well. You're an amazing community manager. So stay in touch, and I will be back next month to talk to you about even more updates that we've got in the works. So excited to bring this to you as well. But that's all for me this time, was a pretty good speed run. That was pretty quick for my segment, I feel like.
You did it all. You did it all. I was going to even help you. And I was like, you know what? Nope, just going to let Zoe do it. She's on a roll. She's on a roll. Thank you so much for that, Zoe. And I know you're excited to get into it. I'm excited to get into it. I believe chat is. We got a lot of people here already talking about it. Let's talk all about Patchwork. So for those of you who don't know, like Zoe was saying, there's a huge update all about Patchwork. You can check out the documentation online. You can check out the blog post all about it. We've got everything from galleries you can check out to cool places to go and just play around with things. And then also a template in the works, which we're going to also touch on here in a second. And with that, yeah, let's throw the team up. We've got some awesome people here to talk about Patchwork, who worked so hard on it, and we're so excited to have you. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, y'all.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm so happy to have these folks on stream today. Shane said, oh, Zoe did a bunch of stuff to bring Patchwork to life. These folks did way more. So these are really the people who you want to be talking to about these tools. They are unbelievably creative and have been working on this for quite some time. And I know they're just as, if not more excited than I am to actually finally be able to connect the community over this. So thank y'all so much for being here. We're so happy to have you. Why don't we let you tell us a little bit about yourselves? And with some quick intros. If Brad, I'll pass it over to you first.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Super stoked to finally be sharing our lovely tools with everyone. I'm a senior designer with the Harmonix team at Epic, and we've just been building this thing and getting super stoked, and already we're seeing all the amazing things you're building. So yeah, I'm also a musician. You can see a few of my guitars and basses in the background. So yeah, good to see everyone.
Howdy, y'all. I'm just jumping right into it. So, I'm Jonathan, and I am a designer from the Harmonix team. So hopefully, we got some fans out there of Harmonix. Our recent hits, like Fuser. I was the creative lead on the Drop Mix game for anybody who played that, and then got to work on Amplitude and Rock Band and some of the other Harmonix older titles that hopefully are still fondly remembered. And yeah, was super psyched to do the design work on Patchwork and bring that to the Fortnite community, because this is a lot of the Harmonix sort of studio ethos is about making music creation and the joy of it accessible to non-musicians. And so, the hope is that not only do the Patchwork tools bring that to you, but when you put that into your creations, then you're going to be able to reach a whole new audience and let them do some really cool things that they haven't been able to do before. So I'm psyched to get into it and see what y'all make with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Zach, pass it over to you.
Hop right in, yeah. So I'm Zach. I spent the summer as an educational game design intern working on documentation and templates at Epic. And then I am since back to school, finishing up my senior year at the University of Southern California, studying game design. But yeah, over the summer, I was very lucky to get to be very hands-on with all the Patchwork devices, getting to put together a really cool and exciting template. So yeah, as a musician, you can see the drum kit back there and the piano and stuff. Yeah, it was really cool to come in and see what was going on. So I'm really excited to show it off.
Yeah, thank you all so much, not only for being here, but for your continued work on this project. It's been so cool to see all this come to life. And, I love that you all sort of alluded to it naturally, but everybody on this call is not only a musician, but a music lover and connoisseur, and just like, it's coming from such a place of passion and love, and it's so clear and palpable in what you've delivered and the way that you're able to talk about it with so much joy. Like, I'm real excited to be able to share this with the wider community. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to give a super high level overview. I think most people who are on this stream probably have heard of Patchwork at this point, hopefully, but if not, I want to give you a really high level of sort of what it is. And then we'll pass it over for a little deep dive, because as much as we like to talk about it, I think it's even more powerful when you see it in action. So for somebody who maybe hasn't heard about it, Patchwork is essentially a suite of connected devices that are available in both Fortnite Creative and UEFN that allow you to produce musical gameplay. You can build soundtracks. You can even give players like an opportunity to create their own original music by making it into a jam zone by having the devices visible and something you can interact with on the island. But with these 14 devices, essentially Patchwork is providing you an amazing soundscape or sound design tool, a music creation system for both creators and players. And now you have a totally customized sound for your island. So it could be everything from having it actually affect your gameplay, which we'll see a few examples of shortly, or it can be as simple as let's make some music and jam in real time with people no matter where they are in the world. So there's so many different uses for Patchwork. And not only that, I think, and I've said this before many a time on stream, so this is not news to anybody, but my favorite thing is all the ways that Patchwork could be used that we probably have no idea yet. So I can sit here and tell you, oh, here's how we see it being used. And a lot of that information is covered in our blog, right? We've talked about, I have it up here right now. We can drop it in the chat for anybody that hasn't seen it, but taking a look, and we outline, producing musical gameplay, creating an adaptive soundtrack, letting players make original music. But I really believe that's the tip of the iceberg as people get creative with these devices. We've already seen some examples of that on social, of people using the devices in ways that maybe aren't specifically for generating music, but have found a totally different, valuable use case. And so Patchwork, of course, is first and foremost a modular music tool, but I'm already seeing the use go far outside of that. So that's a pretty high level. But Brad, I want to pass it over to you, because you actually worked on this really awesome video that shows some of those things in action, which we can show in just a moment. But before we get into that, is there anything else that I didn't cover in that really high level overview that you just sort of want to set the stage for the folks that might not have heard of this tool so far?
Yeah, you did a great job. Basically, I have one of my favorite parts of my job is I get to make interesting stuff, weird stuff before it's public. So I tried to think in as many different hats on as possible, made different videos, made a hodgepodge of things, and that's hopefully just little seeds that are planted in everyone's brain that'll hopefully in a few weeks, it's already starting to happen. You'll blow us out of the water. This video will look old and crusty compared to the things you guys make. So, yeah.
All right, well, yeah, exactly. You're so right. I'm always never shocked, but always amazed at how much more creative people are than me. I'm like your brain. We'll wait and get into more fun stories from launch in a bit. But I don't know about you guys, but literally on November 3rd, there was a couple pieces that got posted. I'm like, yeah, I've had access to this for months and I've never done that. Super cool. That feels really good. And it does, because it really is showing the community on display. So with that in mind, like I said, we could talk about all the cool things it does, but even more powerful than talking about it, let's actually show you what it is. And we've got Dan, our incredible everything, running the stream. First of all, thank you, Dan, for all the work and everything you're doing. But Dan, I'm going to pass it over to you so that we can see an example of Patchwork in action. Essentially what you're going to see, this is a video that we shared at Unreal Fest during the Patchwork session. And you're going to see Patchwork in action, some of the various use cases. And again, this is some, not all of the ways that you can use it, but to help you start to conceptualize how you might implement this into your islands, we have a little bit of an example that Brad pulled together for us of how that goes. So Dan, whenever you're ready, let's roll tape. Incredible.
Yay!
Brad, I'm going to pass it directly to tell us about what we just saw and sort of your experience pulling that together and what was on display there.
Great. Yeah. So as you kind of alluded to, you can make music. You can make it by yourself and get all crazy with the modular synthesis and modulation. You can make it with your friends, like you saw in the last clip there, where you're in a club and there's multiple people jamming in real time, or even collaborative sound design, kind of similarly. You can make interactive music for your game. So when you jump on the wolf, the beat starts playing, the bosses appear, the music gets all crazy. So that's an advantage over a traditional sound file, which is harder for that to adapt in real time. And then conversely, you saw the rabbit grinding on the grind rails with the platforms moving to the beat. You can make musical gameplay, and that could vary hugely. One of the most fun things I did was open up Creative, drop down every device, look at every property on every device, and think, how could this be rhythmically activated? So that's, I think, a wide range of possibility there for people to kind of maybe even invent whole new musical genres with this kind of thinking. So yeah, that's kind of where my brain was at making this, and that's what we saw.
Thank you so much for that. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like they were saying, there's so much more that you are all capable of, that the team is going to show off. That's super awesome. So hopefully we can dive a bit into that, and you can walk away feeling quite inspired for what we can do with these tools, if you aren't already by that video. But with that, yeah, I guess I know we were gonna dive into the music gallery. Was that the next plan, or did we want to?
No.
Okay, sweet. Yeah,
I think we'll have Brad
fun.
take us to the music gallery. Before we get into that, the last thing I do want to mention is that video that you saw. Like I said, that was something that we presented at Unreal Fest. If you haven't seen our session on the first look at the devices, of course, now the devices are live along with documentation. So there's a lot of more publicly available information available. But the session was still a really good overview of sort of what the process was like, some of the design considerations. So if you're really fascinated by Patchwork and you want some more background information, go ahead and check out our Unreal Fest live stream session that we recorded and then posted to YouTube. So you can check it out right now. First look at devices for making music within UEFN and Fortnite Creative, I believe is the official title, and it's available on YouTube right now. So if you missed it, go ahead and check it out. All right, Brad, back to you.
Okay, nice. All right, so I guess, yeah, we can pull up this island. So the inspiration of making the Patchwork music gallery was that it's a lot. There's 14 devices. They can be connected in a lot of different ways. And if you're new to music, it might be pretty intimidating. It's essentially like a modular music system. And that it's amazing that this is now in a video game. And so I tried to figure out a way that's kind of friendly and a step-by-step so we can kind of break down each element. So that's what we're going to do together here. Let's just check out some of the basics of using Patchwork. We have this lovely art gallery that we're in. And
it's multiplayer, so you could join in with your friends. I'm following along with Brad here.
That's right.
And get into, as we noted in the video, one of the new things that Patchwork empowers is the ability to do multiplayer jamming. And that starts with like you and your friends can learn how to use the experience here and then build your own collaborative jam spaces later on.
Totally. Yeah, learning music together is actually more fun than learning music by yourself. So yeah, so to kick it off.
Oh, sorry. You're probably about to go into it. I was like, I don't want to go too slow into this, but I really would hate to miss an opportunity to talk a little bit about the Patchwork tool, because it is like a super powerful and unique thing that exists within Creative now, which might have been exactly what you're about to talk about. But back to you.
Yeah, no, totally right. So look at this big, beautiful piece of art. You got to equip the Patchwork tool. So that is an essential part of using Patchwork. You got to have the tool. You can't just use your hands. You got to use the tool. So we got that equipped, easy. And then our first room, volume.
Go ahead and demo this, and I'll talk a little bit more about the tool after you kind of show people how it works.
Yeah. So we got a speaker, and just asking us to turn it up. Pretty straightforward. Just like a volume knob on any other thing. Turn it up and down. And you can see here we've got this kind of employees-only glass box of devices, which are not yet to be used, but if you're sneaky, you can go around here and use them anyway. But don't tell anyone.
Yeah, so as we noted, the Patchwork tool is something that we kind of added to the Fortnite vocabulary so that we can give you as creators have a choice about when players get to access this. So as you'll see as we get into some of our live editing later on, you can use the as soon as you place a Patchwork device down onto one of your islands, you're going to have the Patchwork tool available in your inventory to control that device, as well as anybody else who has edit permissions on your island. But as you see here, we're in play mode, and when you land on this island, we've chosen to give the Patchwork tool to the players and let them control the devices themselves. So as a creator, that's a choice you have. You can make one area of your map where some people are playing performer and they're actually controlling the devices live. You can give it to everybody, but we sort of set it up through the inventory system so that you all will have that flexibility of deciding, is this a place where players can control the music? Is this a place where I as a creator control the music? So that's sort of in your hands to decide what you want to do with it.
Totally. Like, you don't always want everyone wrangling your gear. It's like maybe only one person can or nobody can. Cool. So that was just a simple interaction with the knobs. And now cables. That's a core part of Patchwork, is that you have individual devices that can be connected with cables. And you can see here they're nicely color-coded. We got a sign here telling us connect the yellow cable to the yellow port. It's even blinking there. It's like, plug me in. Like, okay, plugged it in. You can see the VFX start moving there. That's nice. But still don't hear sound. And that's because the blue cable needs to do the same thing. Plug the blue cable in. Ah, very nice. It's a vibraphone. And similarly, you can use the Patchwork tool to open these things up. So these are in the kind of the closed, kind of minimal, sleek position. You open up, you get a few more options, open again, and there you have it. You have the grid. You can follow along. Jonathan's opened up our instrument player. We can change the instruments. Nice. Piano. We can open the speaker. There's our volume knob again. Yeah. That's just getting used to using the cables. You can unplug it. You don't hear it anymore. And you can even try, okay, what if I try to plug this in here? Nope, can't do that. Wrong color. Yellow goes into yellow. So we try to do little stuff like that to help you kind of understand the possibilities. But yeah, this is a simple way of connecting our devices with cables.
Yeah, and the three devices that we just looked at there kind of represent the different types. Basically, in any simple Patchwork chain of devices, you want to know, what am I playing? That's the sequencer on the left, what we call a note generator. How does it sound? The instrument player turns those notes into sound, and then the speaker to make it audible to players. So you can place these down as individual devices. We've also set up some prefabs that are available to you. Drop those right in, they'll start playing immediately, and you can tweak it from there. So
Yep.
Flexibility for sort of like that kind of plug and play, drop in the prefab and go, or build a totally custom setup with exactly the devices you want.
Yes. Cool. So now we'll focus a little bit here on the sequencer. And basically there's a lot, this is where you create your notes. As Jonathan just said, you generate your notes with this grid. And there's a lot of controls in here. It might be intimidating at first, but that's why we made the gallery. So the octave knob. So let's maybe start there. What if you turn this down? You get some lower notes. We turn it up, you get some higher notes. And then what if we hit this? This is one of my favorite buttons on the device. The dice. Just hit the dice. You got a new melody. Nice. Hit it again. Cool. And this is like, if you don't have an idea, you can just use that to start with, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let's tweak it a little bit. Change the volume down. Yeah, so it's just like a very playful way to create music. It's one of the things I love about Patchwork and making music in a video game. Is it's kind of a little less intimidating than maybe opening up traditional audio software, and maybe you're kind of less experienced. There's all these layers and menus, and it's 2D. And so hopefully this three-dimensional game-like interface will encourage people that aren't as naturally, haven't as much experience with music making. Yeah. And
yeah, Fred, you mentioned something really important there that I think is worth taking a moment to address, which is this is really powerful tech in a really accessible package, right? Like, I don't know if we've mentioned it on this stream yet, but we do in the Unreal Fest talk a little bit about how this is powered by Metasounds, which is, of course, some of the audio functionality from Unreal Engine. And this is the first ever 3D casing for Metasounds technology, which is not only incredible seeing something that you would typically have to, go into a DAW or what's called a digital audio workstation to engage with, like doing it for free in Fortnite, which is kind of mind-blowing to begin with, but then you're harnessing the power of meta sounds with technology from a group like Jonathan said at the top, like Harmonix, that is so committed to accessible music for either musicians or non-musicians. Like, I just don't want it to be lost that like this is such a beautiful, concise way to package something that's actually really extensive and a really powerful tool that, you just said it, but everybody from lifelong professional audio engineers can find value in this, or it can be a really awesome intro to somebody who just like loves music and wants to experiment what making music with something like this could feel and look like.
Totally.
I totally expect I come from a development background and a music fan background, so I've been learning a lot of the music creation along the way. So I'll sort of try and call out to folks coming from a similar place who maybe, they're used to like building levels and creating environments and gameplay logic and are maybe intimidated by music creation. We'll try and call out some of the ways we've tried to make Patchwork, like I said, a little bit more plug and play, a little bit drop something in, start hearing sounds, riff and modify as much as you want, to sort of help developers come in and start becoming music creators. Use it for sound design and soundtracks for your content.
Nice. Cool. So yeah, that's all awesome. I fully agree that this is approachable, hopefully. But then this is the basics they're going through now, and a little bit later we will dive into some more intermediate, slightly advanced things for folks that want some bonus tips beyond the basics.
Also,
cool. So,
if you have any questions about for the Patchwork team here, feel free and throw them in chat. We'll be doing our best to answer them as we go and we show off things. And if you have any feedback or questions as well, the team is awesome and they have a channel within the Discord called Patchwork Chat. So feel free and utilize that channel if you have any feedback or just want to pop in and say that you really enjoy the devices, or if you have any questions or thoughts, anything like that, feel free and jump in there. We've also got a thread on the forums on Epic Developer Community where you can share your feedback and thoughts about Patchwork as well. But the team has been really helpful here and engaged in helping answer your questions, and we're excited to do that on stream as well. But sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll carry right along here. We're at the synthesizer. So this is what we just looked at, the note generator, the sequencer, sending the notes down the cable so we can even see them in real time. Bop, 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 bop. And it arrives at the synthesizer. And this is just like you'd see at a keyboard or synthesizer band. It's synthesizing the notes out of the MIDI notes that are coming from this. So maybe it's intimidating, but let's just grab a knob and see what happens. That's usually what I do with the big wall of knobs. Just start turning knobs and see what happens. So turn up the resonance. Has a little more bouncy sound. Turn up this bite knob. So we right here get some teeth to the sound. And so that there's just some simple ways you can just use your ears, like what sounds good to you. There's no right answer here. And it's like a sandbox, like a playful toy until you find something that you like.
Yeah, the instrument player we just saw uses pre-recorded samples and uses that to play the note patterns you have. The synthesizer, like Zoe said, is using the meta sounds logic under the hood to actually turn those notes into sound with a lot of customization. It's not just tweaking those recorded samples, it's actually generating the sounds live. And again, trying to call out places where if you're new to all this and that sounds intimidating to just grab some knobs, this has a preset carousel as well. So if I start popping through that, you'll hear some very different styles to the sound just by clicking that one big button. And again, hopefully that inspires you to then say, oh, I kind of like the sound of, in your DMs is this synth preset. Shout out to our audio team for creating and naming a lot of the cool custom settings you'll see on these devices. But then from there, you could say, oh, I kind of like that, but I want to tweak it and personalize it further. Totally a thing you could do. It's like, oh, now I'm turning down the resonance. I want less of that bouncy feel that Brad was describing. So yeah, that's kind of the idea with, as you sort of open up the devices, here's your simple controls, and then you can open it up when you want that extra level of control.
Totally. Cool. Synthesis is cool. All right.
Jonathan, actually, I really like what you said as well about can be as in depth or as high level as you want it to be. And I think that that's important when you talk about things like tone and bite and, gain and the more heady conceptual things that you do need some sort of basic music education to understand. But, Brad, Zach, Jonathan, all chime in. But I found as, I have a background in audio engineering myself, there was never a point where I was like, I just know everything. It's the things I know are because I tried them enough times that I found what I liked. And Jonathan said it exactly, or maybe Brad, there's no right or wrong. There just is what you do. And one of my favorite phrases is practice makes permanent. Not necessarily perfect, but permanent. So I know, if I want this kind of tone, I'm going to adjust things in this way, where it is just there's not a documentation that's going to tell you this amount of overdrive will give you this exact feeling. It's going to be you going in and just experimenting till you arrive at that thing that feels good to you. So I struggle with this as an artist of it needs to be perfect. Well, sometimes perfect doesn't exist. There's just what you like, and that makes it good enough.
Totally.
It looks like we have a question in chat. I'm wondering if we can help there. It's is there a way to limit the performance hit from Patchwork when only utilizing the audio output for background music in your map? If I hide the device, can I make sure it isn't being drawn?
Yeah, Brad, I know you've been experimenting with that a little bit, sort of doing the optimization.
Yes. I can't give you the exact technical solution, but the thing that did help me building this very map is I am using some sort of literally beneath the floor equipment to do certain things. And as long as the VFX aren't being seen, so that'll save you on some kind of CPU performance hit there. And things like turning the compressor off on the speakers and kind of minimizing some of the elements that are taking up the CPU time, that'll help. And then also, if you're struggling with memory usage, the first time you put a device down, that's going to be the bulk of your cost. You'll pay the biggest hit for the first note sequencer you put down, and then each one after that's a lot smaller. So let's say you're pretty close, so you're hitting that 100K. Maybe instead of using a drum sequencer, you could use all note sequencers or something like that, and try to get pack as much musical content as you can into the pages of these, so that you don't need 10 note sequencers, maybe you only need 5 if you fill up every page, kind of thing. So it's if you're going to pay for the device, use it to its max, basically.
Yeah.
That's a great call out.
We'll show a little bit more of that in Zach's template. Zach's map is sort of set up with the idea that a creator will put the Patchwork devices in one corner of their map and then use it for dynamic music for the gameplay action in another area of their map. And then the tip Brad was just talking about, we'll demo a little bit later on as well, how to, we're about to teach you about the drum sequencer, which is a great way to sequence drums and create beats. But if you're trying to be totally, we know a lot of people work right up to the edge of their memory limitations. So like Brad said, we'll show you how to use a note sequencer as a drum sequencer, which is another sort of pro tip for saving your number of devices.
Cool. All right, let's take a look at the instrument player. So here again, we got our trusty note sequencer doing some work. And in this case, it's a little different. We got polyphony, or we have multiple notes playing at the same time. It's like when your hand's on the piano, you're pressing, making a chord with your hand. And we also have sustain. So that's how they make these note songs. Let me turn this off. So normally you place a note, you just click once. You can delete it, you click again. But if you click, hold, and then drag to the right, you can see this little knob here come out. And now this note is long. Let's just hear just one at a time. You can hear that sustaining. Versus if we clear all these away, that's a single note. And then this is a sustained note. Then if we do
another shout out to our
chord.
Our VFX team really tried to make sure that we're visualizing this to help give you feedback and then help people learn that. So you'll sort of see that the notes effects above it will sort of light up and hold for our sustained notes, and then just sort of pop in as you're doing just single notes. So again,
I love the way this looks.
Learning exploration.
It's wonderful. Shout out to them for sure, because that's the first thing I noticed, other than how cool it was that we had these devices, was how visually stunning they were and how they really like pull you into the work that you're doing with these. These are awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, this is a lot packed in here, but we got sustains, we've got multiple notes at the same time. Then we have this auto page. So if anyone's been confused about that, we have page 1 here, and we're just going to loop page 1 forever. And then what if we go to page 2? Okay, this page 2 is going to loop forever. And we see these little dots here. That's telling us, oh, 1 page is full, page 2 is full, but page 3 is empty. So what if we took page 2 and we use this little button here, duplicate. Now page 3 has exactly the same as page 2, but let's say I'll make these notes go down instead. Cool. And so that's just a quick way to add more content to your pages, which is nice. And then if we hit this auto page, it's automatically going to cycle between all 3 of those pages. That's a way to get 8 pages of content onto the same sequencer, and you can maximize your memory usage by doing that. Yeah. Cool. And we already looked at the presets here, but this is just a way to get different instruments playing that's in it. And it's really nice because it's an instantly different sound. You know, you don't have to work for it. It's just like, it's different.
Yeah, I think a couple things I want to mention here, which like what you just said, you instantly get feedback, which is another massive benefit of Patchwork, right? So like typically if you're in sound design, depending on what software tools you're using, very often you have to like make changes, pause, go play it, go see how it interacts with your gameplay, whatever you're using it for, whatever the use case is. This is immediate feedback in real time. So, you know, Brad just said, oh, what if we make it go down instead of going up? Well, within seconds, you know if you love that or hate that, and then can pivot based from there, which is like a massive improvement in like the actual workflow for creators using this and being able to get immediate feedback and make changes on the fly. Like that's a huge bonus. And then the one other thing I do want to mention, because like I've been looking at this for a long time. I have a background in music technology, and I'm still like, wow, this is so much, and there's so much information, and there's even more devices. Anything that you're like, oh, I'm glad I'm hearing this, but I'm worried I'm not going to remember it. With this whole island has a companion guide on our doc site. So getting started with Patchwork, actually everything Brad is covering right now has both verbal and visual cues about exactly what's happening. So, you know, if you're going through this and you're like, oh my gosh, this is cool, but I'll never remember it, don't worry, you don't have to. We wrote it down for you. So if you go to the doc site, everything that we're talking about right now, you could even follow along as Brad's going through these various rooms. But even after the fact, when you want to sit on your own time, open up this experience and either play around or start building your own, the doc site is right there with all this information. So don't worry about how much it is, because all of it's available to you in an evergreen space whenever you're ready to dig deeper.
Nice. Yeah, the docs are super good. So I fully recommend going through this and learning about, because the more you know about each of these knobs, each device, the more fun it gets, basically. Cool. So drums. Everyone loves drums. You don't have to worry about pesky pitches anymore. And we even got these shapes, so it's a little more, even more playful in some ways to make your patterns. So we already have a beat playing. Why don't we just start from scratch? We'll take this first shape, we just click on it, and then or on the floor. You gotta, way to start. Then you go to snare drum, place that down. Easy. Go to your third shape, paint down a hi-hat. And that's just a nice input. You can paint, very easily. You want a lot of hi-hats. And then what about some triangles? Nice. Cool. And again, it's got the same kind of page system here. Let's say maybe we don't want the triangles there yet. We'll duplicate the page. So we're now at a second page, and we'll put our little hand claps there. And then we'll click the auto page again. Now we're going back and forth of the version of this beat with the hand claps and the version without. Yeah. And then we have the drum player. So this is making the actual beat, the actual individual rhythms, and these are the individual sounds that make up that. So this is again, we got the nice preset system. So if we were just at this level of simplicity, all I have to worry about is which drum kit and the volume. So let's just try that. Nice, the hip surgeon with a nice big crash cymbal. Okay, nice. Yeah, so this is just like you do in any other music software. You're just kind of cruising the presets. But if you want to get more detailed, So let's see, we're getting a lot of hi-hats. So that's this green kind of diamond shape here. What if we changed the tune on that? You can hear the hi-hat go down. Yeah, so it's a way to shape your sound even a little bit more. Speaking of shape, we've got the shape knob. So that's just another way to get different vibe out of your sound. And yeah, that's kind of the basics of creating the drum sound for your music.
Yeah, so a lot of power.
Yeah.
That shape knob that Brad was demonstrating, right? That controls the audio envelope, so it sort of like changes attack, decay, sustain of the sound for the folks who know about that stuff. So like Zoe was saying, if you know about it, the depth is there, and you can sort of like get that high level of control, create a bunch of different custom sounds. If you don't, just pick a kit that sounds good to you, go with it.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, drums are fun. If you're intimidated by all of it, start with drums. I think it's a good place to start. Cool. So our note progressor. This is a friendly way to make chord progressions. Because what can happen sometimes, if you don't have one of these, let's turn it off. We just hear this chord forever, which is cool for a second, but it might drive you crazy. So let's turn on our progressor. You can hear how the chords are moving up and down, and it's similar. Again, let's look at our beautiful graphics the art team designed here. It's like when you're playing the piano and your left hand is, or your right hand, I suppose, is moving around the keyboard in a way to create the same shape, the same distance between each note, just starting on a different note. Basically, almost every song has a chord progression, and this is an easy way to achieve that. And so we even have, as many of our devices, some presets. So right now, we're doing a major tonality pop progression. Let's try a different one. That sounds a little different. You might even recognize some songs that sound like this. Yeah, so you can just cruise the presets, or you can set them manually here. Let's say you want to do something all over the place, like make the chords go down, make the chords go up. That's a little too crazy. Yeah, so that's the basics of using this. This one goes a little deeper into music theory, and you don't necessarily have to understand it. And as I'll show you later, if you just put a progressor on all of your chains, you're going to get everything sounding good together automatically. It's like an auto glue of your harmony, which is nice.
Yeah, and this is a place for me as a non-musician, chord progressions were always something that were kind of mystical to me. Like, I understand the sound's changing, but they're playing the same notes. This is like a visualization of that, where it's like, oh, this sequencer is literally the same notes over and over endlessly, but it doesn't sound like that. It's got the motion to it. And so, again, if you're sort of coming in as a music novice, like Brad said, drop a progressor in your chain, and then you don't need to be able to come up with the most complex, intense, interesting melodies. You'll automatically get that sense of motion and progression to them. And you can just use those presets again. You know, they're for the music theory folks who understand the Roman numeral notation for these transpositions. It's there. You can manually set it. But for everybody else, you just change this knob. You sort of see, oh yeah, it's sort of like going up in pitch and then down in pitch, and it feels like it's moving. And great, I'm done.
Yep. And to make it all work together, that's what this global switch does. So if let's say you build 4 different chains of patchwork, all with progressors, if the global switch is toggled, they're all going to follow each other. So it's kind of like telling everyone in your band, okay, everyone, we're going to do a 1, 5, 6, 3. Everyone follow that. And everyone's like, okay, I'll do it. And then like everyone does it. Cool.
As everybody knows, bands always get along and agree on exactly what to play.
Well, we're seeing a whole lot of love in chat, so thank you all for coming and attending our live stream to check more out about Patchwork, and thank you to the team who's here showing it off. It's definitely been something that's been widely celebrated by the community, and we're happy to have everyone live to hang out with and talk about it more.
Nice. That's great to hear. I know we're kind of going a little slow, so maybe we'll keep cruising. 2 2 more rooms and then a jam zone, and then we've made it through the gallery. So modulators. So this one, for modular synth folks, is like kind of the bread and butter. This is like really where you can make a lot of difference in your sound. But for someone new to modulating something, could be a little intimidating. So fortunately, we have this friendly little robot hand that is going to do all the work for us. So let's say Jonathan asked me, hey, Greg, could you make the volume go up and down on this forever? And so I'll do it. Okay. And that sounds pretty cool, but like I don't want to do it forever. Like I have other things to do. So we built this little robot for us to do it. And we'll put our knob, it'll control that knob with these settings. So now it's doing the work that I was just doing manually, but it's doing automatically now. So let's say if it was going fast, you can see the hand is turning up the volume, and if we listen, we can hear it go pretty fast. So let's actually make it go a little bit slower, and then let's do it again. So that was one modulator. What if we put another one? This is where like this sort of being able to connect anything to anything kind of vibe starts to get exciting. So now the little robot hand is turning our bite knob. And you can hear, hopefully you can hear the sound. Yeah, it's giving it some teeth, And what if we made it those hands go faster? This is a way to really start shaping the sound in a way that would be impossible if you were to try to manually go like try to do everything with your own hand. Just like in real life, you have 2 hands. You can't. I mean, unless some of you have many hands. It's like having many hands, and so it's quite fun to design these things.
And this is a place where, particularly for creators, as y'all are thinking about automating this stuff, this is a place where you can be thinking about using Patchwork for sound design, right? Just with the sort of sounds Brad's playing with now, you could imagine the alien mothership is approaching, and you start hearing these more intense pulses coming out, and that's all automated for you. You don't have to put it, again, you don't need to do a different note sequence or anything, same sequencer's going, but you just bring in one of these friendly modulated robots and do it. You can automate the pattern like you see with these LFOs. A little later, we'll get into the value setter, which is a specific device we've set up to take events from Creative and use that to say, oh, when I fire this event, I want to flip this knob or set it to this value over in Patchwork.
Cool. So this is where, you could easily just like accidentally spend an hour noodling with knobs, and that's good. It's a good thing.
We've got a sound engineer in chat, and I feel like they can even attest to the best part about being an engineer, touching knobs, man. Like it's fun, touch a fader and a mixer, and it feels so good that you can do it virtually here too.
Yes. Cool. So the last room, or second to last room, sorry, is distortion. So everyone loves distortion. Sounds like folks in the chat love guitar. Everyone get that stop box, hit your distortion, everything sounds better. Distortion. Also true in Patchwork. So here's, kind of lame, no distortion. Hit the distortion, much cooler. And it's basically, it makes it a little more crunchy. You can turn the drive up. And then this mix knob, you can turn how much of the dry signal versus the distorted signal passes through the output. So here we are back to the dry signal. So this could be, again, connected to gameplay. Like let's say you're cruising around, you got full health, but then the monster's attacking you, you're losing your health, the music's getting more intense, and you're using the music to create tension in the player in real time in a way that would be quite difficult with just a wave file that you brought in. Yeah. One other note, the tame knob is a cool addition we did. So maybe you like this, but it's a little much. So that's the sound of a filter. So we're filtering out the high frequencies there. So it's still distorted, but it's less frequencies smashing you in the head. It's just the low frequencies of the distortion. And you can bring it back. And again, you can easily make some nice music using these things. Just again, if we had some of these modulators modulating these knobs, this is how you make a build up to the drop of your song or something like that. And Everyone loves distortion, right? Cool. And then the final room, echo. So another effect. So that was an effect for affecting the audio to make it sound distorted. In this case, we're affecting, this is the drum sequencer making drum patterns. This is the drum player, which you're choosing which drum sounds to play. And again, you can see these in the cable. So that's a helpful sort of debugging method. You're like, okay, is this, I could be I don't. But anyway, you can't see the audio coming through anymore because I unplugged it. But now we can grab it from there. Bam. Now you can see the audio is traveling here, getting affected by the echo and continuing down the cable. And you can see the effect on the speaker. This is a way we can always use to diagnose, why can't I hear sound? This is, oh, I forgot to plug this in. Or, oh, the volume is down on this device, and so the signal doesn't pass through. And this is real life stuff. This is the same that you would do in real life if you were, plugging stuff in a mixer. Anyhow, so anyway, you have your drum beat, you have your echo, and what is an echo? So it's physically repeating. Here, the echo makes your sound repeat like it's inside a large empty space, like a canyon or a warehouse. So if we crank up the echo, you get lots of repeated notes, and you get these cool kind of accidental rhythms. Let's turn it all the way down. That's the dry signal. Turn it up. We got all the echoes. And this is doing it as an eighth note. What if we did it eighth note triplet, eighth note dotted? Turn up the feedback a lot. And then we get into that kind of chaotic sound design world again, which is a lot of fun to be had there. Cool. So yeah, that's the echo. Any other thoughts there?
Is that we are in play mode right now because that's this is the published version of the gallery that we built, but all that real-time feedback that Brad's talking about is set up so that it will be available to you as you're editing in Creative, or if you launch a live edit session in UEFN. It's all powered by Metasounds to be able to give you that real-time audio, and the VFX team work to make sure that, like Brad said, you can see the pulses going through the cables, you can see the speakers reacting, and get a visual feel for what you should be hearing as you have your setup built.
Yeah. Woo. Cool. All right. So that's that. So we learned about the basics, and we just kind of put this jam zone here at the end to sort of plant the seed that this is a multiplayer environment. You can get in here with friends and jam together. And also, at first we would just plant a zillion devices all over the ground, and it's fun, and we should still do that. But you can also be a little bit organized, and that helps keep it a little more clear as to how you're building the music. So drum, let's build a drum here. And I'll just use a preset.
Brad.
Jonathan's over there. Oh, yes?
Really quick before we dive into this, is there any way for you to turn off your friend requests for us? We just want to make sure we're not.
Where would I do that?
Let's see.
I'm almost done.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So basically, I made some drums here. Jonathan's over on other platforms making other elements, and that's a nice way to collaborate. And how are all these things combined? Well, this is the fabulous music manager, and this is how we define: is it major? Or let's change it to minor and hear what that sounds like. Ooh, a little more spooky, sad vibes. And we can change the key. And you can even do that with an LFO if you want to. Yeah, and then you can change the tempo, make it fast, super fast, or we can go super slow. Cool. Yeah, so Music Manager, I recommend plopping those down usually when you're building your music, because that'll help you dial in some of the core characteristics that are shared amongst all of the devices. Yeah.
So we'll do a little bit more jamming, I think, later on, show off Club Patchwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
We will definitely
Anything
get
else
into that. I
before
think
wrap?
that what you're doing right now brings up a good point, which I just saw, and I wanted to address it because it was relevant to exactly what you're doing. Redeemer asks, do all players hear the exact same audio at the same time? For example, if a song is playing and a new player joins the island, will the song start from the beginning for the new player, even if it's in progress for the existing players? That's a great question. I think y'all in this collaborative mode is a good opportunity to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so the timeline of the music is shared, and that's controlled by this music manager. So if there was a time that you kind of wanted to start everything from the beginning, like when gameplay starts in your map, you can just I just turned it off, Brad heard it turn off. And now I'm restarting it from the beginning. There's a measure counter up there. As you get into longer compositions, you can start paying attention to that and get a sense for where you are in a longer composition. But you may have noticed that we were hearing just the devices in each room as we were going through them. So yeah, I mean, Brad, if you run back to another room, you'll hear, we've got this mix going in the central jam zone right now. I'm still listening to that. I'm in the jam zone. Brad's over in another room. He's just hearing that. So your tools are, Brad can tell you a little bit about how he set that up with speaker groups. The Patchwork speaker has a group setting that lets you say, oh, I want these speakers to be heard right now. So when Brad's in that room, he's only hearing the speaker from that room. He's not hearing the speaker from the jam zone, even though they're on that same timeline. You also have controls with the player that is instigating the events to be able to target audio to just specific players as well. So speaker groups, if you want to sort of do environmental audio, player triggers, if you want to sort of target sounds to specific players. That's where Brad did cool. Like Brad is the inventor of the hi-hat wolf that you heard in that video. Hop on the wolf, and only the player riding the wolf gets those cool hi-hats soundtracking it. And so yeah, some different stuff to play with there to control who hears what, even as they're along the same timeline to keep everything in sync.
And I guess one more fun version of that is positionality on the speaker. Because I could make this speaker only broadcast, 3 grid squares away. So you only players who have approached this, let's say it was a giant duck or something that made sound. When you're near the duck, you'll hear it, but if the player is not near the duck, they won't hear it. So, yeah, kind of classic speaker stuff, but pretty cool when applied to music, which isn't as done as often as sound effects. So, cool.
Awesome. Well, Brett, thank you so much for that walkthrough. That was so helpful. I do just want to remind everybody, and Flack, our amazing mod up in chat, who's just holding it down every week per usual, has dropped the documentation site. So any of that information that you're like, say that one more time, of course, you'll be able to watch it, but you can also check out our doc site to walk through the gallery. Take a moment, open it up, go in, just to do it, a piece at a time with the guide in front of you. And I promise, it is such a good way. Even me, as somebody who had a lot of exposure to these tools in advance, once it was live, I spent some time doing that, and it made everything a little more bite-sized for me to absorb, even with an understanding of this. So don't sleep on those resources. They are super helpful. But Brad, Mintz, thank you so much for sharing. And Brad and whole team, awesome work on that gallery. I mean, It's just so cool to see the building blocks of it all, and then this collaborative jam station.
Totally. Great.
All right. Well, the fun doesn't stop now. Don't you worry, y'all. We've got even more goodness for you. If you were paying attention to the Patchwork launch, you noted that in our launch material, our blog, and on docs, we mentioned that a Yacht heist template would be coming soon. We have one of the folks who worked on it, Zach Northrop, here with us today to talk about it in depth. And of course, Zach, amazing work on that, and the whole docs team who worked super hard on many a thing for Patchwork. But Zach, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and the template that you're working on before we dive into it?
Yeah, I really appreciate all of that. So, basically over the summer, while I was interning at Epic, I kind of heard through the grapevine that there were these music devices being worked on, and found that we needed a template for the release. And so I began, prototyping some projects, things like that, and ended up with the Yacht heist. So the Yacht heist is a single-player stealth experience that uses all of the really wonderful Patchwork devices to create an adaptive score that is kind of changing as the player plays the game based on kind of different things throughout. So we can switch over to my screen and I can start showing it here. So I'll just play it first and try not to talk over all the music the whole time. That's always tough. You can hear a track going. I'm trying to get up to this key card. It's a guard here. So now that he sees me, we got more music playing. Take him out. Back down to that core track. Grab that, so I'm going down here now. Oh boy.
I love the anxiety of the music ramping up. It's so good.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like it makes my aim worse when the music's all going, you know? But also-
Yeah, your hands start to sweat a little.
yeah. All right, so we go down here. Now we're going down to the vault.
That was a little one.
Oh, guy in there. Got him. All right. Back in here.
How's the audio? Can everyone hear pretty well watching us?
Does it sound all good? All right. So, music stops. We come into the vault. Grab the jewel.
Tryhard says, when did the guards start
energetic
jumping
music.
like this? They're just giddy, all right.
They're excited to be here.
Yeah. They're like, I want to be a part of it. And then they have their own intro music, so why wouldn't you want to be a part of it?
Exactly.
I wish I had intro music in real life.
Right? Maybe we should start having that in our streams.
What do you mean
yeah,
start
that'd
having
be
it in streams? Go into Patchwork and make it, Shane.
Oh,
You got
there
it.
you
Do it yourself
go.
now.
Yeah.
Try and take this slow because it'd be really embarrassing if I got eliminated my own template here.
You're doing way better than I would, so I'm already very impressed.
Okay, yeah.
Let the music
All
be your
right,
inspiration.
off to the front to
I love this part.
the escape.
Nice.
And the
Yes.
The
jewel.
James Bond moment, right? You escape off in your speedboat. I love it.
Yeah, off into
So
the
with all
sunset.
with all that happens, Zach, can you explain to us kind of what goes into that? Because I think this part of Patchwork in particular, I haven't seen people talking about it too much. So the more insight you can give the audience as to what just happened there, I think the more inspired they'll be to use Patchwork devices in this way because it's so compelling.
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. We've got, I think, over 100-something devices doing a lot of different things. So I can just real quick kind of talk through some of the just gameplay focused devices just to give a sense of kind of how things are flowing, and then I'll dig into kind of how Patchwork is connecting to things. So just very briefly, each of the guards have their own little switch that is controlling whether or not, or that is basically just responding to whether they are alerted to the player or not. And then over here I call this the hangar because we put this big building that has like a million billion devices. You can see how many Patchwork
Ooh.
devices we
nice.
got going on over here. And then so basically this is like just a master switch that basically anytime this switch is on, it means that there are guards that are alerted to your location. And if it's off, that means that you're sneaking around and there's nobody there. And then, yeah, in terms of how the game flows, it's pretty similar to a lot of other templates. You know, we use HUD devices and beacons to guide players around, things like that. I would, if you're interested in checking out kind of all of the back end stuff for how the template itself, like the gameplay flows, it will be in the companion document for the template, things like that. I think one thing I will point out that is relevant when we're in edit mode, we have all these like numbered beacons that are basically going through kind of the order of different tasks on the ships. You start out at 0, go up and get your card, go down to the lower deck, then to the vault, into the vault, and then out to the escape boat at the front. There's a bunch of devices all over the place for that, and I will just quickly point out that in here we got the game flow section, and these are all of the additional back-end devices that we've got in here. So there's lots of things going on. For all of that kind of stuff, yeah, I would look to the companion doc and things like that. So yeah, that all being said, we can dig into all of the patchwork connections. So I think first of all, I'll maybe start by explaining some of the kind of approach to composing for games and things like that. I think one thing that's really important to think about when making music for games, and it's one of the things that gets me really excited about it, is that when you're playing games, you know, you don't have control over how quickly things happen. As a composer, you don't have control over like when different triggers happen, when different things are triggered like that. So we can't just write a like entirely linear score for it. We need things to be reacting to the game as it's being played, you know, because in film, you know when everything's going to happen, so you can just write a piece of music for it. But in games, we need to be a lot more flexible. So you'll see in the companion doc these terms are used that the two main approaches to doing like game composition in this kind of adaptive way are vertical composition is the first one, and horizontal. Basically, vertical composition means that we have one track playing the entire time, and we're just adding and removing different layers of music to it. So in this template, that's how we're doing the stealth stuff, right? We have that kind of basic drum track that's going the entire time, and then when a guard sees you, it adds in these additional like synths and the bass and things like that. And then when they're eliminated, it takes them back out. So that's one main approach. The other approach, horizontal, is just saying that you're starting and stopping different tracks. So, you know, in this template, we stop the entire sneak track when you get to the vault, and then we start an entirely new, faster, different, you know, higher energy track to kind of match the difference in pace and the different gameplay. So that's kind of the core approach. I just wanted to give a little intro on terms and stuff because they get thrown around a lot in a lot of the documentation for this stuff. So cool. I can also start by explaining what the value setter device is. I don't know if maybe Brad would want to hop in and talk about this in terms of like, because it's very similar to the LFO as well.
Totally. Yeah. So in the gallery example where we hired the little robot to sort of constantly do a changing of the knob, in this case, we're hiring it to do a single task at a time. So every time you press set on the device, it will set it to the value that you've defined on the device. So in this case, volume, right? You've said, okay, at this time, probably triggered by a creative event, set the volume of the drums at right now, or set it to 0 right now.
Zach, do you want to show us the events
exactly,
just so people can see that side?
Yeah. So this is the nice thing and kind of how everything is hooked up, that these are listening to events from different devices. So basically this one is saying that every time the player spawns, this switch is checked that basically holds the value of whether they are in the sneak phase or the escape phase. And if they are in the sneak phase, it will set this value, which turns on these drums that should be playing during that phase. And then the setter that turns off those values, basically when the vault explodes, as you heard, this will get set as well, so it will turn that off. Same thing, so I'll leave this on so we can kind of hear how this is going. These are all connected to the devices for the alert music that gets added in. So I'll do this kind of slowly so we can hear the different elements. We have additional drums that will come in. So it kind of beefs up the drums a little bit. We have this bass. Yeah, so we're adding that in. And then the kind of melody as well. So that's the music that you're hearing when you're kind of in combat and things like that. And then when you're out of combat, they get turned off again. And then we're right on back to that track. So in terms of events for all of these guys, these are all listening to the master alert. I'm not sure why it's doing this. You can't really see that. It's listening to the master alert switch, which is this one over here. So essentially, we want this one, anytime this switch is turned on, it's turning on all of those elements. And anytime it's turned off, it's just turning those off. So it's really simple to hook up, really easy to do, and gives us all of that control of adding in and taking out different pieces of music. So you can turn that back off, go over to the escape stuff.
And that was a really, that was an instant example of what, Zach, you were describing with the vertical composition, that those layers just come on as that master switch is hit. You could also, as a creator, you have the choice. You could bring in one of those layers at a time. If you had a stealth game and you wanted to be like, oh, the guards are suspicious of you versus when they're actually aware of you, that could just be done by triggering those events individually. And you could have those switches all set up so that either case could happen, that they all turn on at once, a single layer comes in, all of the timing is going to be kept in sync by that sort of Patchwork music manager that kind of keeps them all coordinated. So you can fire those events whenever your gameplay dictates, and everything's going to land in sync with everything else. And there's also, as you want to get more musical finesse out of it, there's some controls on the value setter that let you say musically, when do you want this to come in? Is it something quick where I really need it on the next beat? Or is it kind of a slower event where it can come in on the next measure?
I'm not sure if
I can show that real quick.
I'm not sure if there's someone here who can speak on this in particular, but we did get a question saying, are replays good with Patchwork? If you watch your match, say in slow-mo, will it slow the audio? It could make for better trailers if they can edit in the music devices themselves for that. But just curious, like how it does respond to replay mode if they're to use it with Patchwork devices and music.
Yeah, so replay mode has its own quirks, as I'm sure many of you know, and when everything's working correctly and Patchwork is triggered, it will not slow down. Basically, it's not the same thing as like if you were in a video editing program and you're like scrubbing back and forth. So if you pause it or shift it around, you'll no longer get the precise in real life timing that if you were to just let it play. And so when I made some of the trailers and even internal demos that relied on replay mode, where I'm flying around with those cool third-person camera, you have to let it play through, basically, currently, in its current state. Yeah. I just wanted to shout out to Zach's excellent layout and billboards here, because it makes it a lot more digestible. Because even if you find yourself building and there's devices everywhere, cables everywhere, it's almost like commenting your code or keeping your desk organized or something like that. Like having a nice layout, nice little sections, nice text, billboards. It'll remind even yourself, if you're not even sharing with someone else, what the heck does this do?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I tried to separate it off into these different areas, and I'm certainly going quickly and not going and reading every single billboard. So there is quite a bit more information about what every single little thing is doing in here if people want to go and poke around in those on their own. So
Nice.
yeah, cool. So over to the escape track. This is the track that plays toward the end. I'll just start bringing in these elements so we can hear what it sounds like. So we got these drums, bass going. It's got the teeth on it. Got some teeth.
Always need teeth.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got that synth going as well. So, and then one thing you'll notice as well right now, it sounds a lot slower than it is in game. That's because at the same time this all gets started, we have a value setter on the music manager on the tempo knob, which bumps up the tempo by 50 BPM to make it a lot quicker and a lot more energetic. It'll do some funny pitch stuff when I hit this while it's playing, but you can kind of hear what's going on.
Woo!
So then it's up to up to the tempo that you hear it in game. It's got all that energy. And then in terms of events, you can see these are being set right when the jewel gets picked up. That's kind of the main thing. There's some other things just to make sure that respawning works and stuff like that, but the main event is that when you pick up the jewel, all of these things are started. So it's the same over here for the tempo. This gets turned to fast right when you pick up that jewel. And then for turning it off, these are set when you finish the game. They're also set if you respawn at the start of the game just to make sure. So if I turn these off, yeah, that is all of the music. One little tip that I'll point out, because one thing with these value setters, I could go through and set these up. Here, I'll turn these back on. Let's get the tempo all fast. So I could just set a couple of value setters up here and put them on the final speaker, so that instead of doing this on individual instruments, it just turns it straight off like that and turns it straight on like this. That's one way to do this. But I decided to have them have individual value setters that are setting the volumes here, because it actually lets the instrument sound continue going into the effects that are afterwards, and you get this kind of nice echo out that I can show here. So if I kind of slowly turn these off, you can hear that nice long tail.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes a lot of these transitions a lot cleaner. I was using this with the alert track as well, just to make that kind of slowly fade, make it transition a bit nicer there. So yeah, that is the Yacht Heist template. It will be out very shortly, along with a companion doc that will kind of walk through a lot of these concepts as well in some more detail and stuff. But yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for giving them a sneak peek. Yay!
Yeah, it's just so nice to see you again too. I know we talked about you doing this a long time ago, so I'm so glad that we were able to make that happen. You mentioned the companion doc a few times. For folks who are interested, you can actually see some of that right now on the doc site. So if you go to docs and look up Yacht Heist by Patchwork, then you'll see it right there, the template. There's a ton of helpful information, a lot of what Zach went over as well there. So check that out, and it will be coming very shortly. So you should be able to go in and play around very soon. So again, thank you, Zach, and to your whole team who worked on that. I mean, what a group effort from them. And then, of course, our other internal folks like QA and some art passes and so many people who came together to make all these islands something really special and something really useful for our community. So thank you to everybody who did any work on that. It's awesome to see it come to life. And I mean, we got Shane. Is this our most full, just totally abundant stream we've done? Because I'm well, that was great. Just kidding. There's more. We are actually going to go to another section. I think Brad mentioned this up top when we first started talking, but we're going to get into some tips and tricks now for some like intermediate, beginner to advanced sort of tactics for really leveraging Patchwork in the best way. So, Brad, I'm going to pass it back to you. You're absolutely crushing it going through some of these like more complicated topics and concepts while making them feel accessible. So let's just keep the good times going and show us a little bit about optimizing the workflow while using Patchwork.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. Awesome job, Zach. It's super cool to see all the Patchwork in a yacht. I mean, that's a great place to put Patchwork. Cool.
For sure.
Eats on a boat.
Eats on a boat. That's right. All right. So every Friday on the team, we get together and we jam and we make a bunch of sound and we have a lot of fun. And inevitably, we end up pushing the boundaries a little bit of what are some of the things you can do. And so I thought maybe it would be fun to share some of the things that I've come across, and actually some of other folks on the team, they get known for certain techniques. And so kind of extracting those Patchwork skills into little nuggets that maybe you could use for your own jamming. Cool. So we have drums, and we talked about that already. And the traditional way to make drums is here, like using the drum sequencer into the drum player. That's very nice. You can do that. Have a nice drum beat. But what if you used the note sequencer to create your patterns for the drums? And that has a variety of different advantages. But to do that, you can set chromatic to true, meaning it says C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. It's not C, D, E, F, G, like I normally would say. So it hits every note in the scale chromatically. Octave to 0, all the way down. Grid height to 5. And why 5? Well, because there's 5 drum hits. You could go up and make it bigger, but this just so you see only the hits that matter. And I made it length 16. And by default, the length is 8, which is more manageable to mouse around. But if you're going pro drum mode, you want all the notes possible, 16 notes.
Yeah,
and
that'll correspond to the 16 squares you see on the drum sequencer.
Yes. And yeah, so once you have that set up, you can hit my favorite button, the random button.
Oh.
And then automatic, you got a kind of interesting little groove going. What if we do it again?
I love
And you can just peck away down there, like add some, maybe you want kicks. Like if we put some kicks on the downbeats, it'll feel more dancey, but still ricky-ticky.
Ooh.
Yeah, and for those folks who didn't catch it earlier, this is a way you can still fully sequence your drums. Under the hood, it's all note data, and so this is how you can set up your note sequencer. If you only want to place the note sequencer in your island, so that way you're only taking the memory hit of the note sequencer, and then multiple instances of it should have a low cost on top of that. This way you can play all the drums you like and only use note sequencers and avoid having to use the drum sequencer. Again, for live beat making and stuff like that, the drum sequencer, it's going to be easier, give you those presets. The random button on the note sequencer is not designed for drums. You might want your drum beats to typically be in a more regular pattern than what these patterns are popping out as. But maybe it'll inspire some really cool polyrhythms, unusual beats.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I want to know the people making weird stuff. Like, if you make some weird things, send that to me. I want to hear it.
We want the real weird stuff. Tag us, please. But also, this is so cool. We actually have quite a few questions we've got over here too that we've been kind of jotting down. Do you mind if I throw you a couple of those while we continue to go through this?
Go for it.
Yeah.
So let's see. We've got one about creating in multiplayer mode. Does each player hear different sounds depending on what they're doing, or are they hearing all the same thing?
If you're go for it, Jonathan.
Oh, go ahead, Brad.
Okay. As Jonathan actually was saying in the gallery, if you are near the same devices in the same music group, actually, which we can look at now.
Yeah,
nice.
Go to the
open that speaker.
And we have music event group. Determines which speaker can be heard at the same time. So we're in music event group 0. So that means all the speakers that are set to 0, if they're not overlapping, we'll hear them at the same time. But let's say this speaker was set to music event group 1. If I'm standing over here, I'm going to hear this stuff, while Jonathan hears that stuff over there, because they're in different music event groups. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, there's actually second way to do that is here. Let me toss in a preset beat here. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to change. Well, actually, Brad, why don't you do it since they're watching your screen? If you change the full volume distance. So by default, the full volume distance is full island, and that means that everybody in your island is going to hear the same thing no matter how far away they are. Brad just changed it so that it's now positional audio. So this is something both for this case of, we're all editing at the same time. We've done some patchwork party times like Brad was describing, where multiple people are setting their speaker to small, working on their set of devices, and then flipping it back to full island, and then we all hear that mix come together at once. If you're designing for something where you want positional audio, that's another time where you might want to have like, now I'm entering into the spooky cave, and so only inside the spooky cave, as I'm approaching the monster's lair inside of that, I'm going to be able to hear like a fall off distance where the tense track ramps up as I get closer to it, as opposed to the event-based tension layers that Zach added for the Yacht heist.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
music groups are for those tighter rooms. Yeah.
And so, like right now, if we wanted to have our own jams, I'm jamming here on this crazy drum beat, and then Jonathan can be jamming over here separately. So that's if we want our own space for a while to make music, and then when we're ready, we're like, okay, let's merge the jams.
Ooh. All right.
I brought in some rock drums layered on top of yours, so yeah.
Yeah. So those are some options basically that you can kind of mix and match as you see fit.
Very cool. Thank you. And then I'm seeing a lot of the same question, which I don't know how much of this we can actually speak on, but we're definitely getting questions on if there's any more instruments coming in the future, if there's new things we're considering.
What a great question, Shane. I will take this one.
Go, Zoe, go.
Yeah, it's we were just joking about that because at Unreal Fest there's obviously a lot that we wanted to share and couldn't, so I was always just ask me and I will try to give as much of an answer as I can. But those are really good and really valid questions. Something that we are really clear about is this is the beginning of Patchwork, not the end, right? So we've been very clear that these are the first 14 devices that are coming, and you can surely expect to see more in the future. What those are specifically, we're not going into specifics right now, but you can imagine, as we understand the use case from our community, we will both want to be really innovative. Like Brad and Jonathan said, during these Patchwork party times, they're pushing the boundaries of what you can do with the tools. And like I said at the beginning of the stream, the people making this love what they're building, right? Like this isn't some, make it, put it out the door, and then we never look at it again. This is a team that's always sort of jamming and iterating on these things with each other. So not only do you have sort of advocates on the dev team who are thinking about the most useful tools to add to this to make it a fully robust tool set, we're also accepting feedback from the community. So like Shane said, we've got the Discord and we've got a forum channel where we're specifically gathering feedback, asking questions. We've got members from the dev team in there helping to troubleshoot and ask questions and take requests and bug reports and whatnot. Like all of that is there. When we're talking about specific things upcoming, I'm not going to give you those exact specifics, but what I can tell you is that more is coming. So you can imagine things that will make the tool set even easier to work with, even more robust in terms of customization. They are on the way, and you'll just have to keep an eye on our official channels for what exactly those are going to be.
Thank you for that answer, Zoe. Appreciate that. The other one that I'm seeing consistently is, will there eventually be, which we probably don't know, and can't speak to, but will there eventually be a way to import sounds or import singing or anything like that into the creations that you're making around Patchwork?
Yeah, so that one actually in particular, we have talked about in slightly more detail, which is just that it's certainly on our radar and something we're exploring ways to make happen. You see, it's not currently available in these first 14, so we're not saying a specific date or any particular way that it might come to fruition, but it is something we are absolutely exploring, understanding that this is such a incredible, music creation tool, samples, custom sounds, those are things that people are going to want to see. So it's something we're certainly exploring, but to be determined exactly how that takes shape.
Awesome, thank you. And then we have two other quick ones, and we can keep going. And that is, where did I lose it? I lost it. No, there's just too many positive quotes in here that I lost my question.
Yeah, right.
Oh, can you pull the measure count in verse? Interesting question.
Currently, there's no verse support with the initial launch.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, not for the measure count. Yeah, we'll have enable disable in verse, so like basic verse support for activating your Patchwork setup. But that's, actually, Zoe, I was going to sort of ask this as a follow-up to your answer, like, can we point folks to the place where that kind of feedback and requests should go? Because that's definitely the kind of thing that we'd love to hear, right? Like Zoe said, we want to make this better, and we want to make it better in a way that matches the stuff we're excited about and the stuff you're excited about. So verse functionality that you're looking for, instruments you'd love to hear, we would love to get that feedback from y'all.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout, John. And the channels that he's referring. Oh, Shane, go for it. You're running those channels, so I'll let you take that one.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, there's definitely a couple options right now, especially since things have just launched. So we have a couple more available than typically. But we just launched on Discord. For those who are on Discord primarily, we have a creative UEFN feedback forum channel in Discord, where you can select what tags you're referring to. For this one, just to make it easy, I'll probably add a Patchwork tag in here. So if there's any feedback that you have or requests you have, you can put it there. Also, if you want to speak directly to the team, we have the Patchwork chat that's still available. Probably just a temporary thing, won't be there forever, but Patchwork chat within Discord where you can pop in, ask some questions maybe so you can have a better understanding before giving certain feedback. Then on EDC, on the Epic Developer Community Forums for Fortnite, if you search Patchwork, there's a thread also in announcements for all feedback and thoughts around Patchwork that you have for you to throw in there. The team is keeping an eye on that as well. Trying to think if there's anything else I missed. I think that's pretty much it, right, Zoe?
I think that was everything too. Like if you just scream loud enough, a Patchwork dev might appear in your front yard and be like, actually, here's how you do it. Like we are everywhere. So, please, if you're anywhere that you pretty much are talking about this, we are trying to keep an eye on and trying to engage and receive that feedback. So yeah, I think you covered it because that's like every channel.
Did my best. All right. I think that was it for the questions that we've had so far, and we'll continue to gather them. But,
actually, sorry, Shane, there's one more really interesting question that sort of speaks to something really fascinating that I love. Yeah. Can we use sharp notes? I hope that's what you're asking and not hashtag notes. I'm assuming you mean, can you use sharp notes? So Brad, Mintz, can you talk a little bit about chromatic usage in here versus, scales?
Totally. So I was just making a bunch of noise as everyone was talking. That's this little quick song here, this rapid composition. I was using duplicate, auto page, random, and then everything is currently linked to the scale. And so as you can see, these are the notes along the side of the note sequence here. That's the notes of a C minor scale. But let's say we wanted to get a little crazy, a little spicy. We could go chromatic on. So there we go. C, C sharp, D. So that's every note now. We're no longer limiting ourselves to C minor. And maybe if you really want to add as much as you can, we'll let you go up to a grid height of 13. And that'll get you the full octave of a chromatic scale. So now, when you do random, you're going to get some spicy notes. Let's see.
I was going to say, give me the weird stuff. This is what I like to see.
Let's see. Oh, wait, we're not. Yeah. Oh, we're in a progressor. There we go. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But so,
You know I love jazz. This is right up my alley.
If we can still use the progressor, but we can say don't snap to scale. So now it's still going to go through the chord progressions, but allow these chromatic notes to peek through. So let's see if I can not make it sound totally out there. Oh, there we go. So a little chromaticism. I could still say, let's say, mostly diatonic. Yeah, anyway, so that's a way to be chromatic, and then you can switch back. You can say, actually, enough, chromatic off. And then we'll snap to scale. No. So there, the chromatic is great, and it's a way to also, let's turn this off. Currently we only have major and minor on the key modes, but you can, if you're clever, you can actually get other modes as well. If you want to make a Dorian or a Lydian,
nice.
You can get a little crafty with the notes you choose, or even, this is another power trick here, but if you set all 3 steps of the progressor to the same value, it will allow you to play in that mode. I won't get too deep on that, but this, if you're looking for that kind of stuff, play around with that. Cool. All right. Well, that was just a quick example. We don't have to go deep into that, but that was using some of the fun rapid composition tools like duplicate, auto page, and presets, progressors. All these things let you get down an idea quickly, so you don't get stuck in that sort of blank page state. And I also use these little. This is just something I started doing for my own OCD, kind of like adding colorful blocks under them so that it's easier to note what are in the same chain. Because it can quite, just like in real life, your desk, your gear, it's all strewn across everywhere. And maybe for some folks, that's totally fine. For me, I tend to work better when it's quick for me to grab for something. It's like, okay, turn that knob. I know what it's going to do. I look over there. I'm going to do that. So anyway, colored blocks are a nice way to do that. Cool.
Yeah, another one we'd love some feedback on, just learning how different people organize their setups. If there are things that we could do to make it easier to quickly organize your devices, we'd love to hear that. Or if everybody just likes to kind of roll their own, like Brad does here. Some people we've seen, a lot of us sort of like built out over space, like Brad did in this setup. We've seen a lot of creators out there doing like big giant walls of vertical layouts too. So yeah, just been really interesting to see what y'all are doing, and would welcome the feedback on what would help you organize your devices.
Yeah, like it's been cool to see how people build this way instead. Like a different visual layout up and down. Oh, I guess
isn't it like a true wall of sound? Seeing people do that has been blowing my mind.
Yeah.
To think about it and really on an XY axis.
This is actually, and some people are already doing this, is using this, because maybe you're like, oh, this isn't enough notes for me. Okay, well then set octave 2, then we'll go octave 3 here, octave 4, octave 5. Now we'll plug all of these cables, which maybe not everyone knows. You can plug multiple cables into the same port. And now
really
these will be, all right, got a lot going on here. So that's a nice thick
so that's just
now.
a good. Yeah. And that setup trick that Brad was demonstrating, I was just saying that, you can connect any cables of the same type into a single input, like Brad was demonstrating there, and then you can quickly grab the bundle. If you grab the side where it's plugged in, you can say, oh, wait, I need to reorganize my chain. You can grab that point, and now you've got all of the cables, and you can move them. And then if you're like, wait, I just need to pull this one out of it, you can go back to the source cable and grab the one that you want. So that's sort of a pro tip for working with groups of cables like that.
Yep. And it's just fun to hear things layered up. Like sometimes you just duplicate the same thing you did but change the octave. Sounds nice. See if you can take it another octave up. Right? Now you have this giant. It's almost like you're a conductor with your giant sheet music on your pedestal. And very nice. Cool. Should we keep going, or what do you think? Finish up the tips. We still got time. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
We've still got time for.
All right. So that was kind of songwriting vibes there, but a really cool aspect of Patchwork is that you can do sound design and even collaborative sound design. So Jonathan and I can be making crazy sounds together, which is pretty unusual. Like normally if you're designing a sound, it tends to be a more solitary experience. You're in your synthesizer, in your DAW, mostly on your own, tweaking around. But now we can try to do that together. So we'll just start pretty normal here. Just have a little sound playing. It's like, okay, well, what if we make it, we got this step rate now. This is how fast the playhead moves across the grid. It's pretty normal speed. Speed it up. Okay, now we're really getting somewhere. That's pretty fast. Now, before I was like, oh, I want lots of pages. What if I only wanted 2 pages?
Whoa.
Okay, so that's starting to sound more like sound design instead of music. And ends up being these certain knobs and choices that really have a dramatic impact on the sound. So, for example, echo. We crank up our feedback on our mix.
Ooh. I'm getting sci-fi vibes.
In sci-fi, yes. And then if we change the octave, like if we go down, getting some cool sounds. And then if you change the instrument, that massively changes it. Right? And then if we and this is where it's like exploration, you know, there's
Dan's like, lower. Thanks, Dan. Notice the dusting over there. Oh, this is cool, though. Whoa.
Yeah, it's really something.
I can see the weird, like... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just saying this is, a lot of as if you all watch the Unreal Fest video that Zoe was talking about earlier, kind of talks about the inspiration. A lot of this comes from like hardware synth and how modules are used in the studio to put this stuff together. And so some of the sounds, the way that Brad had it configured there, were like how, might give you kind of those like 70s vibes when people were really starting to play with those synthesizers, create sound design from kind of classic sci-fi movies and stuff like that. So that's totally a way we'd love to see creators experiment with this stuff, give it a personality that's very different from, the kind of standard Fortnite audio soundscape, and really like touches onto that, strange otherworldly sounds, or play with the instrument player to give it a more organic sound design feel.
Cool.
I know we talked earlier about... Oh, sorry. We talked earlier about the drums. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. So the one more tip on that, is the loop mode, which pairs quite well with this, because this is quite a big sound here. But maybe you don't want to hear it forever. If we turn looping off in the customize menu here, now we can use this as a sound effect. Let's actually make it a little longer. So let's say somebody finds a treasure or gets a power up or something. You just, through the creative events or a value setter, turn it on, and and you get a one-shot version of that sound. And you could just, design the sound exactly what you want, even make it interactive. So let's say we added some, it'll play every page too in the thing. So let's turn it on, and then, and you can basically adjust the parameter as it goes. Oh, I forgot to turn auto page on. Yeah. So basically, you can get a single sound effect to play through Patchwork as well, which is very different usage than making a song. Yeah. So sorry to interrupt many times, Shane.
Oh no, you're so good, Brad. I know I was actually just going to allude to when you mentioned the drums are a great place to start earlier when we kicked off this stream. If someone is like a little nervous kind of diving in of what order to do things in, where it makes the most sense or where they'll start to get a vision for what's happening pretty quickly, is the best way to find that to check out the music gallery that we were looking at, or is it to dive in here and kind of play, or anything in particular that you recommend in terms of going in a certain order that would help someone who's a little nervous or not as great with music like myself?
Yeah, well, I'd say the gallery was designed for that purpose, to walk someone through step by step through the basics, and just you could even go through multiple times. And I've seen folks go together. So maybe if you have a friend that plays Fortnite, has maybe a little bit more experience, you can kind of banter back and forth about figuring it out. The companion doc is really nice. You could have that, next to it as you're going through. You could read if you're someone who likes to read. Some folks are. That's a nice way to sort of sit with the content as you're taking it in. And
Right.
Yeah,
I want to pop down some of the prefabs as a good example.
Oh yeah,
because the gallery I think is a great starting point. All the things Brad said, you can start. We went through it at our own pace, but if you read that stuff, play with the knobs, sort of get a feel for it. You can't. We've tried to shout out to the QA team who helped us test it to make sure it was. You can't really break it, so feel free to go wild, like changing knobs and experimenting there. But some of our tech designers were able to get in these prefabs. So there's a gallery that Brad's looking at right now. That's if you just want to get all the devices in and just start copying and pasting them and placing them. I don't know if it'll let you place it right now because the music manager. Yeah. Currently there is a restriction that you can have one music manager per map. If you just want to get started on a new map, place down that gallery, you'll be good to go. But if you try one of the prefabs, and like Shane was saying, drums are a great place to start. So if you put in the drum prefab, it should come in.
And that way you don't have to worry about making all the connections.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the way to get that same I could just start playing with knobs and hearing changes that you get in the gallery, do that in your own map. And if you place down all three, there's drums, bass, and melody prefabs. Place down all three of those and you'll have a mix going. It'll all be in sync. And every time you place it, it should be randomized, so you'll get something a little different. Hopefully an inspiration that you can then riff off of. This one sounds particularly crazy, but maybe you'll get something more mellow. I think it might be, I forget what our music manager settings were, so maybe this one was sort of hyped up from some of the changes we were making earlier. That's where I'd say as a creator is probably the easiest place to start, because it's kind of just drop it in your map, you've got sound, you can start deciding what triggers this sound? When is it going to loop? Oh, do I want to add in another layer in some of the ways that Zach was describing in the template to, build on top of this basic thing that I've got. That's kind of, I think, once you've checked out the gallery, checked out the prefab example, the template example, then starting to play with these prefabs in your own map would be a great place to go next.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I use
Thank you for
prefabs all the
covering
time.
that.
Yeah.
For those who didn't see, Jonathan, could you show us real quick how to locate those prefabs and drop them one more time?
Oh yeah. It's right in. Yeah, if you're looking under the Patchwork tag, they show up in devices. So there is the Patchwork tag here. But so you see those icons that we have with the little name labels on them are the individual devices, and then right up top, our artist made nice little cute illustrations of what they're kind of like. So they're just available in the creative inventory right there. yeah, so now we've got a little bit more of a mellow piano vibe from this time, but Brad dropped it in than what we got last time.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Totally.
All right. Well, how are we feeling? Did we cover most of the best practices? Was there anything else that we wanted to call out? I know we talked a little bit yesterday about, and I know it's featured decently in the Yacht template that Zach showed us. In terms of, I know you can do certain things in Patchwork that can say make something change or move within gameplay. For example, I've heard and seen things having to do with, like, say, a platform moving or appearing, things like that. Is there some way we could show off that a little bit in here, just by chance?
Awesome segue.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool. So exactly. So we've been talking about making sound effects, music, and using events between gameplay, but you can also use this nifty little device we have called the note trigger. And this is where we can send events on a musical beat to another creative device. So in this case, we have this note trigger. Every time it receives the note C, which it does, pretty often here, and then you see this blink, that's when it received it. Blink. And so what happens when that happens? Let's look at our customize menu. So when note received, do these things. And so it's a number of things here, but basically use the prop mover to move a platform forward or backwards, or turn a light on or off. And so we have turn the lights on there, and we have turn the lights off here, and we have all the reverse movements of the platform. And that's when it hits the D note. And so, as you probably know, creative events only work in play mode. So we'll hit start game. Let's get a little bit of something playing. Woof! We've been having fun in here.
I'll go, yeah. I can go quiet some of our mad science experiments over here.
Actually, that's a great point. And I think something we've uncovered during Patchwork Party Time is as important as somebody making music, somebody monitoring what music is being made and how to pull things back is equally as important.
Yes, subtractiveness.
Look at it go! Look at it go!
Right? So the lights are turning on with the beat, and the platforms are moving on the beat. And what's cool is, now in game, you can still adjust the device. So let's say, make it go slower. Oh, let's see, maybe let's get this drum beat gone. With everything
So
got all
enthralled by
ricky
this.
again. Yeah. Cool.
Oh, sorry. I quieted down everything too much. There you go.
There we go. There we go. So now you can see it. It's a little bit slower, so it'd be like an easier level, right? Then if we crank it up, that's a hard level. It's like to get past that obstacle. Let's go medium level. Oh, I missed it.
Oh,
There,
no!
right.
Not the lava!
Yeah, right? So you can put some lava here,
Yeah.
try to run, and then make it, yeah. Right? And so you could design a whole obstacle course, death run kind of thing that's super musical, connected to the music. The music's changing as you progress, and then the level's changing. Oh yeah, good one, Jonathan. Changing the tempo.
Yes, so there's two ways. Yeah, Brad was demonstrating you can change the individual sequencer that's sending out those notes, and that'll keep the music constant while the behavior of your objects changes. Or you can go and mess with the tempo settings on your music manager, and because that drives all the Patchwork activity, then that'll change what you hear and what you see. So you can ramp up the intensity of the music and see those platforms start moving. And this is even something, Brad noted, we are in play mode right now, so you could even build opportunities for players to control which notes do which events on the note triggers themselves.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I'm sure I can
Brad,
break this
if you don't
up.
mind, if you don't mind, can I just see you do that again on the note sequencer, how you went about and actually changed the tempo, if you wouldn't mind, like the actual action of pressing the button?
Yeah.
awesome. Like, it can be so easy. And again, back to that, it's immediate feedback, which is so cool to see something live like that, where you're making a decision and immediately you're seeing, oh, I want that, or maybe a little slower, faster. I love this. The level of customization available to folks here is unbelievable.
Can I ask, we're opening the eyes of quite a few people in this chat. They weren't aware of like how the specific aspect of Patchwork worked. Are there any other ideas that y'all could throw out there off the top of your heads of how you can integrate this with gameplay aside from the platform? I know you said lights were one thing. I mean, what other things is this capable of?
You can, I found out when I was there over the summer, you can turn on and off triggers to do like some rhythmic gameplay, being able to, I made a demo for like a rhythm game, essentially using triggers turning on and off that you needed to shoot different targets in time, things like that. You can use this for.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing folks out in the community play with that. The note trigger is sort of your tool for sending events synced with Patchwork out to the general creative event system, and the value setter is your tool for getting events from the creative system and passing them back to Patchwork. So we really wanted to make sure there was that kind of two-way street. One of the sort of tricks with the note trigger device that you may have noticed in how Brad had it set up there is that it's not actually connected to a speaker. This note sequencer that he's using to drive those note triggers isn't producing audio for the player to hear, although it could be. In this case, he's really just using it to play those two notes and make sure they're on the same Patchwork clock with everything else that's going on that you are hearing. So that's a way to say, okay, I don't necessarily need to hear these notes, but every time I hit this beat, I want to make sure this platform moves or this rocket fires or whatever kind of event you're doing. So that's kind of the clever way to set things up behind the scenes, is that, maybe you are letting the player compose the music, but you're also having these events driven by these sequencers behind the scenes that stay in sync with the music they're making. And then the note triggers continue firing the lights or the platforms or whatever you're doing based on that stuff.
Awesome. Thank you for elaborating on that.
I'll just quickly see, hopefully, it's probably going to be chaos, but...
Yeah, that's a live demo. Is that an explosion on the D note?
Hold on. It's not blowing up. I must have done something wrong.
Yes, that's okay. Well, I'll throw in one more if you want to set it up again, Brad. Up to you. So one other thing that Brad touched on briefly, and we can look at if we still have time. Excuse me, to check out the Club Patchwork setup. In Club Patchwork, we have some sequencers that are set up to not loop. Brad touched on that earlier. It's a setting you can put on your sequencer, and that kind of fires it as a one-off musical sequence that, again, is always in time with everything else that's playing. That's totally something you can use in your adventure game, the kind of classic, you open a treasure chest and you hear a little musical stinger and it's synced up with everything else. But y'all were talking about theme music earlier and like entrance themes, and that's totally a thing that, in the same way that I know some of the creators out there, let players level up in their experiences, and you can unlock custom like trails and auras and things like that. You could totally allow people to unlock custom entrance music in that same way. So it's like, oh, when I enter the arena, I've leveled myself up and I've chosen, the King's Fanfare or whatever it may be. You run that as a single non-looping sequencer, so that it's like, oh, when this player enters, play that non-looping sequencer, play the whatever your theme music is, and so that can just be another way for players to show off, in addition to just those standard gameplay events trigger that one-off melody.
Which is freaking cool. Like, let that not be lost on folks, how incredible that is. Like, y'all know as well as I do, somebody said it in chat earlier that music beyond, the practical application, this is what makes games stick and feel unique and exciting. And to have a custom sound design, that's freaking cool. It's not lost to me how amazing it is that the ability to have a custom soundtrack, custom soundscape that you're designing, and the player in turn is also kind of designing by their actions affecting it. Like, y'all, it's freaking amazing.
Yes,
Also,
agreed.
want to shout out the fireside chat we have next week.
Yes.
So next week on the 21st at, let me make sure, 3 p.m. ET. I'm in PT, so I get a little confused. We're going to have a fireside chat with some of the awesome team from Epic that work at Harmonix and their titles. We've got Helen McWilliams, Jamie Billings, and Arthur Anasi, who are going to be there with us, kind of just chatting about exactly what Zoe was talking about, which is how important music design is in gaming, how it evokes those feelings, the tone, the reaction, and sometimes even the retention of your player base, just by helping improve that experience overall and making it something something they want to return to time and time again. So we're super excited to have them next week as well to talk more about that. So definitely put your questions in Discord if you haven't already for them. We've got I don't know how many years of experience, Zoe, in music design and gaming that it's going to be there. So
unbelievable. The people who are coming are real pros. Not only do they have experience working on Patchwork specifically, but they also have experience out in the industry generally in creative pursuits. They're musicians themselves, sound designers. I mean, been just around video games forever, doing mocap and all different kinds of things. So, I mean, that we have a group of 3 people who really are coming to offer some like really, really awesome lived experience and best professional practices and just insights to using not only this tool, but like Shane said, a more general conversation of like the merits and validity to sound design as a massive tool for improving your experience for both creators and players. So that's going to be awesome. Like Shane said, next Monday, we will be taking questions in advance. So think about it, play with the tools, and drop in some questions. Sure, both about specific Patchwork specific questions, but general things too. Zach, I love hearing what you said. I'm so interested in your perspective because, you saw the tools early and we were like, go make a template. And like, there are so many things you could do with this that you did something so creative and, leaning into the yacht angle I thought was so cool because it's like, music isn't necessarily the star of that experience, but it makes it better. And it is a star in some way because it sort of gives it this sense of the level that it's at, how it's leveled up the experience, that like music kind of is the star because it wouldn't be that compelling without it. So I think that that's such an interesting conversation to have, and we'll certainly be continuing that during the fireside chat.
Awesome. Yeah. And then with that, I guess we wanted to dive in to Club Patchwork for a bit and kind of show that off where we can. And if anyone has any other questions for the team while we're live here, please feel free, stick them in chat and we'll answer whatever ones we can. But yeah, this has been super fun. Thank you to everyone who's attended. Thank you to the team here to taking the time to do this and be here with us and put all this together. We really appreciate it. This is definitely a super fun stream.
Yeah, I also can't believe it's already like almost 4:15. I had to turn my lights on because the sun's starting to set where I am because this has just gone by because this is such good information.
Good.
Yes, this is another awesome space that Brad built.
Patchwork. Yeah.
One of the things that Patchwork enables is live jamming, like Brad was talking about. So, like you just saw, we were doing in edit mode. So you, as a creator with your team, can do kind of live music mixing and experimentation there as you're editing your maps. You can also open it up to players. This is just, kind of a simple setup. Brad tricked it out with some hidden secrets and other surprises.
Ooh.
But it's to kind of help people learn about different parts of the mix and also be able to jam in multiplayer, start getting, think about how songs are constructed. Yeah, that might be a good thing to show off, Brad, the verse and chorus stuff, just because we haven't kind of gotten into that longer form composition yet.
Totally. All right. So that is kind of...
What an intro.
Welcome to Club Patchwork. Thank you. And we made the intro because there is a lot going on here, and it's to try to... There's signage and there's cool functionality to kind of encourage moving beyond that kind of 8-bar loop that is cool to start with, but like, what are some things we can do beyond that? So I guess similar to how I set up that demo, we have 4 zones. We have the drums, we have the bass back there, we have a lead or melody, and we have some chords. and then we have some fills, and we have some lights. So we have a lot of zones here, and then this is where we can mix the whole thing. So you're kind of your superstar DJ up on your platform, controlling your massive, real in-world DAW, basically. So we go over here, and I'm just going to do it kind of quickly and simply. Let's say we're going to make a verse and we're going to make a chorus. So 2 distinct parts of a song. And we'll do that for each instrument. And so maybe Jonathan can do that for the lead. So we'll start with a verse, and I'm just going to put it's pretty fast tempo. Let's slow it down a little bit here. So yeah, we'll treat verse as kind of the simple portion, and we'll do the chorus. That's where we're going to amp it up. Okay, so that's simple drums, simple lead. Jonathan, so what are you thinking about the bass here? So we're kind of collaboratively can do this.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just doing a very simple lead pattern, kind of doing the trick that you were showing off before, where I've just copied a very simple sustaining pattern over the first couple pages and then made it descend on the 4th page.
Nice.
We get some of that
cool
repetition and variation.
And then I'll do a sustained chord for the verse. And again, this is to go back to that note progressor. The note progressor is hooked up to each chain. That means they're going to change chords together without very much effort. Okay, nice. So let's then go to the chorus. So I'm going to go up here and click. So this is the kind of our song form controller panel. So we're on the verse. Let's go to the chorus. So if we go back to our drums now, we can see that turned off the verse device here for the drums, and it turned it off for the bass as well. So Jonathan's already working on the chorus bass line, and I'll work on the chorus. A little bit more exciting. Here, we'll get some distortion on there. Okay, and then for the chords, I'm just going to do some fast chord stabs. Okay. So now if we go back to our mix panel here, that's our verse. Now, if I don't want it manually change back and forth between these two things, I can hit this auto song button. Let's hear what happens. Make sure it's all set up in the back here. Okay, so we're on the verse, and this is here set up with note sequencer and note triggers. Why don't we go a little bit faster? So that triggered, this note trigger just turn on all the choruses and turn off all the verse devices. And we automatically went back to the verse using this note trigger plus note sequencer. And we're hearing that fill there because I have E and F associated with the fills. And again, I know this is a lot going on here, but this is kind of a more advanced demonstration. If you did want to put on a concert where you wrote all the music in advance and you wanted to be able to jam on it and real-time improvise on what you've created, this is the way to do it. So I went silent there, just so we can hear these fills. So I have a fills panel here. Very exciting.
This is a good example of what we were talking about earlier with setting the sequencers to not loop. So as you were hearing when the whole song was progressing, you were still hearing these fills come in at appropriate times, play once, and then let the looping sequencers continue their patterns.
Yep. So if I click, I can do it manually here too. I'll click the power, and it turns itself off. And that's a way to, again, get away from that endless 8 bars of looping so you can have more variation in your music and have more expressivity. Okay, one more thing up with the mix panel. Let's say we're going to break it down. Let's get rid of chords and lead. So I use these switches to turn off that stage. So watch, if I click this, you're going to see the lights turn off on that stage. Now we're just drums. And that way we don't have to fly around or run around and do everything. We have access to this musical variability right here on the same panel.
Ooh, that was nice.
Thanks. Cool. So yeah, so that's the music control, and then we'll take a quick look at the lights, because maybe someone in your band is going to be the lighting person. They're not going to make music. They're going to set up your map with cool lights and other effects, like these squares that are moving, and this pyrotechnics. I don't know if you noticed, we got some sweet flames blasting out of these potted plants.
Classic.
Yeah.
I insisted on more pyro.
That's right. That was Jonathan's idea. So we have, again, in a similar way, let me just turn this off for a second. Whoops. It's a little sniper move there. These note triggers are connected to this note sequencer, and they're sending creative events to like these spotlights and these lights on the ground here and the pyrotechnics. So there's 4 devices that send at various times to turn on and off or move things to the beat. So it feels like if you're at a nightclub, that's generally what happens. Things are bouncing around to the beat. So if we look at the spotlights, the lights there, and see on this page they move faster. Now they're going to slow again, and then in a second they're going to go fast. Now we can make it double time. Oh, get the auto page. Woo! Okay, yeah, so that's the idea for the lights, and then finally, Jonathan's already hanging out over here by these platforms.
Yeah, I was already doing the same, trying to sync up. We love a good cube on Fortnite, so I wanted to let them have an opportunity to dance as well.
That's right.
Woo!
So you can.
You took the thought out of my brain. I was like, somebody please do that. Like, I need it.
Yes. I just try to put in fun mobility stuff. So even if people aren't necessarily trying to make music, but they want to hang out with their friends while they make music, you can also just put fun stuff in here to, be part of the performing act, And there's an infinite number of things you can do to create a fun experience for everybody. So, yeah.
Amazing.
That's kind of the idea of Club Patchwork.
Awesome. Again, awesome job on this and the islands. You, the whole team who worked on them, and not only the people who worked on these islands specifically, but this has not been we just thought it would be. No, this has been years of spiritual successors that existed at Harmonix, and then the opportunity to do this within the Fortnite ecosystem just presented us this chance to make it even bigger, reach more people, be more involved. So it's just awesome to see how many people have worked on this over many years throughout the history of products over Harmonix, and of course, Metasounds, Unreal Engine, Audio, Fortnite. This is like a big team effort, and I just want to take a moment to thank all the various teams who worked on this, from localization to QA to our marketing, community folks, and our devs, and everybody who had any hand in this. The docs team, of course, just so many people working really, really hard to bring this to life. So thank you to those who did it. We're so happy this is out in the wild, and like we said earlier, this is the beginning, not the end. So you can imagine there will be even more coming. So thank y'all so much. This is just so happy that these tools are in the hands of creators now.
Yes, thank you all so much. And don't forget about our fireside chat next Tuesday, 11/21 at 3 p.m. ET, 12 p.m. PT. That's going to be live streamed to these channels as well as in our Discord, where we can talk more about music and why Patchwork is so valuable for these games and experiences, because music is so impactful and valuable. And thank you again, team, for joining us. And thank you, everyone in chat. Any last thing we want to bring up, Zoe, or did we do?
Just one more announcement from me. I think we covered everything and then some. I mean, this went a little longer than we anticipated, but it was too fun to stop. Of course, thank you, Zach. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Brad, for joining us. Like Shane said, keep an eye out for the fireside chat, as well as some other community initiatives that'll be coming a little bit later. And then I also just want to remind folks, tomorrow is the deadline for the IARC survey. Please fill that out. to avoid your islands not appearing in Discover. So like if you have yet to fill out the rating survey, please do that today. Now, what a great time to do it. You're chilling, you're feeling good after the Patchwork stream. Go in, fill out the survey, get your ratings, but make sure you do that before the 16th, please, if you have a moment. But other than that, take a moment and just, like I said, check out the Mustard Plays Fireside Chat, check out the latest updates to the creator rules, the Discover blog is out there, all the good marketing announcement we went over early, but main thing that is time sensitive, get your rating survey done. But that's all for me, and Shane, as always, thank you so much for having us. This was so fun. I'm so happy that we're able to talk about this now. I feel like I've been waiting for this for months, and now, out in the wild.
Yeah.
Yay!
I can't wait to see what everyone builds with it.
Yeah, make cool stuff and send it to us.
Share it to us. We love to see it. We're watching everywhere. We're everywhere. Like Zoe said.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day, everybody. And we will all see you soon on the next live stream for the Fireside and the next Creating in Fortnite. Until next time. Bye.
See ya.
See ya.